Hey girls, how we doing? Okay, so we're going to talk about cross-eye dominant shooting, eye dominance, both eyes open versus one eye, kind of all that thing. We'll talk about my development, how I figured my own self out, and then as I started wanting to teach this stuff, I did a whole lot of research into vision skills. My cousin's an optometrist. I really picked her brain trying to learn a lot about this stuff. As far as astigmatism and focus shifting and eyeballs and just how they work and processing and hand-eye stuff. And then we'll get into my philosophy on this whole ordeal. So I've had this question several times, just kind of one of those things I just keep forgetting to talk about, and I got it again on the top triangle video where somebody was saying how I really want people to have a nice centered up top triangle as much as possible, right? And the person was saying, well, what about cross-eye dominant people? What do we do? What do you recommend? So, awesome. We'll get into that. I'll give you my stuff. When I started figuring this out and the story of me trying to figure my own self out, I had a hard time with it, right? I saw people shooting with both eyes, and I realized that a lot of the best shooters shoot with both eyes open. So that's what I wanted to do. I'm like, okay, if they're doing it, I'm doing it. So I started trying to shoot with both eyes open, and I had to look back at my own shooting and think, well, what am I doing now? And it was funny because I was actually closing my right eye. I'm right-handed. I was closing my right eye and looking through the sights with my left. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. So then I kind of looked at other people, and they're just presenting the gun with a flat face. I'm looking at the best in the world, and I'm thinking, I don't want to turn my head like that. So what's going on? Then I found, I'm looking up cross-eye dominance and figuring that out, and then I'm trying to figure out what eye dominance I have, and I'm going back and forth with all this, and I'm not having much luck. So that's when I contacted my cousin. I'm like, look, I'm having some trouble here, and the little tests that you do to figure out your eye dominance and stuff, that's not working. I'm like, I don't know if I'm just an idiot or what's going on. So we actually did some real tests, and it turns out that I do not have a dominance, right? There's very few people, I guess it's pretty rare, but there's a thing called mixed dominance where you can alternate dominance or mixed dominance. That means you can pretty much pick whichever eye you want to use. So for me, after I figured that out, and as time's gone on, that's become a pretty handy thing, especially shooting like magnified optics on rifles and stuff. I can sit there with both eyes open and be in the tube or out of the tube and just kind of go focus back and forth. It's really nice, really nice. Plus left shoulder, right shoulder, rifle and pistol, or around cover with a pistol, I can use my left eye. Or, there's a million things that are actually pretty handy with that. But it was kind of a pain. It really took me a while to figure all this shit out and kind of come to grips with it. Then I had been presenting the gun like this and turning my head a little bit, so I'm like, now I got to relearn all that. Now what am I doing? So now I naturally want to throw the gun up and present to my left eye. Shit, because I was closing my right one the whole time. And it turns out the only reason I was doing that is, one, I thought you were supposed to close one eye when you shot a pistol. I didn't know any better. And then two, I could just close my right eye better. so close it like winking. It's easier to do with my right. That's all I could come up with why I was doing it that way, especially when I realized that I don't have any eye dominance. So that's all I could think of. So I had to retrain myself. Now in that, I found a little thing that worked pretty good, and it didn't take me any time, and I was presenting the gun without moving my head and presenting it under my right eye. All downhill from there. Then I could build my top triangle exactly the way I wanted to. And then, at this point I'm a rookie though. I don't know any of this shit, and I'm just trying to figure it all out. As I got better and better and better and wanted to start teaching this shit, then I revisit my past constantly to try to think of all the things. And I was really good about documenting my travels. Okay, up through, I documented everything that I was trying to learn and work on and stuff, so I can go back and look at those notebooks and kind of look at things, and it's really helped me with teaching. And the vision side of shooting is huge. Shooting is hand-eye coordinated endeavor, so half of that is eye. Let's talk about what my philosophy is on it and what I think people should do and what I ask of you guys. So especially if you're a cross-dominant shooter, what I want you to do is give me an experiment. If you're a cross-dominant shooter and you want to know kind of what I suggest you do, I suggest you put an eye patch on and dry fire for a month. Doing nothing but presenting that gun. Presenting the gun, drawing, doing a little bit of work, do your reloads, do your whole dry fire, whatever you got to do, with an eye patch over your dominant eye. Because as I've talked to my cousin and bounced this idea off her and kind of told her how I fixed myself by wearing an eye patch, she's like, you know, that's very, very possible. What you're saying is to train yourself to use that eye when it pertains to shooting. So, and that's really all, you know, the only thing it ever pertains to. But it's just tricking your brain. So now that eye's still open, and it's not, you can't do it by closing that eye because that's going to mess with you as far as closing one eye and opening another. That dominant eye has to be open but occluded. So then your brain has to gather whatever information it can. So then it's going to transmit that back over to that other eye and start gathering information from that eye. All right, you can kind of, hopefully you're tracking on what I'm getting at here. And I want you to do this experiment because I've had several people do it and with success. One guy did it. He was already like probably a B class level shooter, pretty freaking good shooter. And you know, he's already got his indexes mapped out. He's got his top triangle the way he's doing it at that point. He's got his draw and all this stuff, and he's been shooting for X amount of years, turning his head a little bit and using his other eye. And I've said, hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to wear an eye patch, and I want you to dry fire for a month every single day with an eye patch on. And do your dry fire with an eye patch on and present the hell out of that gun and build your top triangle underneath your right eye and see what happens. I didn't hear from him. So I was like, well, it must not have worked. So didn't hear from him. Finally, I didn't remember. I forgot about it. And then 6 months later, dude calls me and he's like, dude, I just thought about this and just realized that I've been using my right eye for the last 6 months. Forgot all about it. That experiment worked. When I present the gun, I use my right eye. Iron sights, red dot, anything. Because he was going from a production or a limited shooter and wanted to start shooting carry optics and knew that I've been doing the red dot thing for a long time. And I got a lot of stuff about the red dot and eyeballs and focus and all these things. So that's what he contacted me for. And then we did that experiment and I said, hey man, just start using your right eye. Screw it. Well, I'm cross-eye dominant. That's impossible. No, it's not. You can train anything. You can do anything. So try that. Please do. Now, since there's varying degrees of eye dominance, so from the optometrist, not from me, there is varying degrees of this. Someone could have a very acute dominance where this experiment may not work. I mean, I haven't had 1,000 people do it. I don't have the data. I haven't collected, So this experiment may not work for somebody that has a very severe eye dominance, okay, or cross dominance. So if you're one of those people, you are going to have to figure out how to develop a top triangle index, how to develop your index point using that cross dominant eye. If that is the case, this is what we're going to do. There's 3 different things you can do. You can simply keep your head straight and or build the top triangle over here to the left with some left hand biased or to the weak side, right? For me, it's going to be the left side. So I'm either there's 3 things I can do. I can present the gun over on that left side, okay, and just kind of switch my top triangle and move it over. So instead of being right here, I'm right here, right? Pretty simple to do. There's presenting under my right eye and then turning my head all the way over so I can see it. And then there's a mixture of both of those, which is kind of meet in the middle where I'm gonna throw it up and then turn my head a little bit. So I'm gonna throw it up pretty much in the center of my face and then turn my head a little bit. Any of those 3 would be fine. I don't like presenting it under my right eye and then turning all the way over like this. Now for shooting groups or poking around at the range, anything gets the job done. Just like Jerry Michalik has said a million times, anything works with time. As you get into more dynamic shooting where you're moving around, you want to really shred, that's why I want that top triangle index to be so nice, okay? Because no matter what I do, if I lean over, anything, that top triangle stays the same, and it's an awesome package behind the gun. I suggest for sure just present over to that left eye, or present right in the middle and then just turn your head a little bit. Something like this, shit, that ain't bad. That ain't no big deal. Still a perfectly centered up, you know. What I want out of your top triangle index is just you not to be doing anything drastic. As we saw with those 10, 12, however many people were in that top triangle video, they were all pretty much here somewhere. Like some variation might have been a little bit more like this, might have been a little bit more like this, might have been a little more like this, might have been a little more like that, but they're all basically just kind of not doing anything crazy. We want to just be as neutral and centered as we possibly can. That way we can just move and fluidly go do the thing. All right? Experiment with that. Let me know. Eye patch, dry fire your nuts off, and see what happens. And I'll bet you, I'm willing to bet you, unless you have a very acute eye dominance, that you can do it, that you can train yourself to use whatever eye coincides with whatever hand you are. I would do it. I would try it, especially for new red dot shooters. Man, it's so nice to be able to put that dot up right in front of your eye that's on that side. Using the eye that coincides with the handedness just seems to really be the best package you can get. Now, again, plenty of people out there proving me wrong, doing it the other way, and even shooting with one eye open. So many ways to do it. This is just an experiment. Try it out.